I
What
think
is the
any
business
business you
like?
can boil down to one sentence, but that doesn't mean that the business is simple or
Yeah.
predictable. I mean, like,
It,
you love saying, like, I can understand burritos, but, that doesn't mean that the business behind the burritos is simple or predictable.
well, to be clear, I'm not trying to understand it well enough to actually run the business myself, right? It's
No,
it's a fine.
but
It's not even a fine line. It's sort of a big gap between I could run this day to day versus I understand the basics of how these guys make money,
totally.
right?
But it could be some kind of crazy complicated structure of what's going on behind there, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah, it could be.
just like in Formula One, it's like, yeah, I can say, yeah, I get it. These cars come out, there are teams, and they race. Done.
They make no
But
money doing that.
and they
It costs them
they somehow
forever.
make money. So then then that's where it starts getting complicated.
So yeah, how does Formula One actually make any money? And you start to think without knowing anything about it. Well, let's see. They have people show up who pay money for the tickets. Of course, they have to rent the track.
But that
So
doesn't
that's the
actually
money
go
goes
to
out the
Formula
door.
One.
There you go. They've got TV contracts, no doubt, because you could watch Formula One on TV, but I don't know how many people do. I mean, maybe millions, maybe billions watch it. I don't know. In other words, very quickly, I can get to where, I don't really know anything about how this business makes money. So I'd have to learn. That's the first
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not that hard to learn. I would say, I would right off the top of my head think, yeah, it's probably pretty learnable. And I'll go over to Google Formula One and read the wiki page and just see if I can get a grip on, well, okay, what is it exactly? And there you go, right off the bat. FOPA receives 49% of TV revenues, 1% goes to the team, 50% to the FIA. So, you start to get an idea of who's Bernie Ecclestone and what did he do and kind of the history of the thing. So that's pretty simple. You read that in 10 minutes and you get an idea. Oh, is this something I can understand? But then I want to roll directly to the second piece of that first major checkbox of Ackman's, which is predictability. Where will this be in 10 years? How comfortable am I that this business will be around in 10 years? That's such a huge question for me. And it eliminates a lot of potentially good companies for me.
For me, for Formula One, that is the world's easiest question. It's going to be
All right.
around in 10 years and it's going to be bigger. There's
The
no question
business,
in my mind.
the business itself,
The
the one
business
I own.
itself, that's a more complicated question
That's like saying
because,
Major League Baseball will be around, but well, what about who's going to own it at that point? Or,
yeah, no,
you know,
that's exactly because then you go and try to figure out like which things to actually buy. And it suddenly gets a lot more complicated.
yeah. And so part of whether or not I feel I can comfortably predict the future for Formula One, not even predict it in any kind of way other than it's going to be bigger and more successful. The business of Formula One is I'm going to read up on how it got to where it is now. And if it has been rife with problems and scary moments and it just barely survived and all of these things we were just talking about for an entrepreneurial company, then either something radically changed and they've gone over the hump and now they're going down the downhill side of things, or their past will predict their future. And I don't know what the answer would be on F1. I honestly don't. I think the past has been really up and down. I'm just reading this financial difficulties and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
rescuing them and this one, then this one. But maybe because this huge media company got a hold of these guys and they've got a clue on how to use media for something that, at least in Europe, is fabulously popular. Maybe they can figure it out. I don't know. What do you think? You think you could say comfortably without a lot of effort that this is pretty predictably going to be a bigger company, more successful down the road?
I feel very comfortable saying that. Yeah, I'm convinced of that. I think it's a sport in a rather unusual position where it's not gotten into the world's largest market for sports, which is the US. And they have only in a couple of years already been accomplishing that task in an extraordinary success. It's only going to grow, and they are going to professionalize. They're already professionalizing the operation. A big reason that it went through a lot of those difficulties, shall we say, is that it was a extremely unprofessional operation. And it was like a bunch of people who knew each other who decided to put this thing together. So now they have like genuine structure, from what I understand. They're trying to make it so that certain teams have less power than they've historically had. From what I understand, Ferrari has had way too much power. I don't really understand why, but somehow, because they were there since the beginning, Ferrari has been able to really control a lot of the decisions around the teams. So they're trying to dial that back without losing Ferrari, and at the same time bring up the possibility of more teams that have less money. Because a big problem is the money gap between the teams. So they're trying to make it to be a better show. Again, they're a media company. They're trying to make a better show. They're trying to make the cars more competitive with each other. That means having them be closer together, be able to overtake. I mean, we've gone through a few years of cars not even hardly overtaking each other, which is completely ridiculous in a race that you want to watch and enjoy. So they're focused on the entertainment. And I think that that is working unbelievably well.
But you're jumping all around this other issue, which is where are they going to be? I mean, how predictable? I got it that they're popular, but for example, just in the wiki page, the commercial rights of Formula One are not controlled by the Formula One group. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, is it gets really complicated about what you actually own.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
I don't have my notes here, so I can't say exactly, what's what. What I remember from when I researched this like 2 years ago or so is, or less than that, because it was when the pandemic started, was that it became very quickly incredibly complicated, and dealing with who owns which piece of what and who owes debt to who, and at what point do these rights kick in, and at what point does this debt obligation kick in, and what are the rights of the FIA, which is this governing body of the sport, which is not the same as Formula One Media, and yet also owns quite a lot of rights and financial obligations. And it's incredibly confusing.
You guys, if you enjoyed this video and you feel it was valuable in teaching you more about how to invest, hit the like button and please share the video with your friends. And if you want more investing content, subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click the button on the screen. We got a free gift for you. Thanks again for watching.